President Trump facing new questions over his newly released financial disclosure about that payment to Michael Cohen. And now there's an allegation there are important banking files connected to Cohen that may be missing. Our chief national affairs correspondent, Tom Yamas, is here, has the latest for us. Good morning, Tom.
Robin, good morning to you. In the banking world, they're known as a SAR. That stands for Suspicious Activity Report. And banks use them when they need to flag transactions that may be money laundering or fraud. And according to a new report, 2 SARs involving Michael Cohen are now missing. For the first time, President Trump officially acknowledging he personally reimbursed his attorney, Michael Cohen, last year. The president's lawyers have said that some of that money was to cover Cohen's $130,000 payment in that hush agreement to porn star Stormy Daniels. You can see it here in a footnote on page 45 of his mandatory personal financial disclosure report. In 2016, expenses were incurred by one of Donald J. Trump's attorneys, Michael Cohen. Mr. Trump fully reimbursed Mr. Cohen in 2017 between $100,000 and $250,000. This coming after President Trump just last month claimed he knew nothing about Cohen's payment to Daniels.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
The president now saying he formally disclosed the payment in the interest of transparency, insisting he's not required to do so. But the Office of Government Ethics disagrees, writing in its own footnote, the information related to the payment made by Mr. Cohen is required to be reported, and sending this letter to the DOJ alerting them of the new disclosure. This as the mystery surrounding Michael Cohen's suspicious business transactions is deepening. Now, allegations some of Cohen's records have disappeared. The New Yorker reporting a law enforcement official was the person who leaked some of Cohen's financial records last week. The reason? The official was concerned because some files were missing, specifically 2 suspicious activity reports detailing transactions worth more than $3 million. The source telling the New Yorker, "I have never seen something pulled off the system. When something's not there that should be, I immediately became concerned. That's why I came forward."
It's certainly unusual and in and of itself suspicious that just 2 SARs were pulled off of the system, and those 2 SARs apparently led to or disclosed a significant amount of money that went to Michael Cohen. So yes, I think it's suspicious.
Cohen's business transactions came into the spotlight last week after they were leaked to and then published by porn star Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti.
Well, I'm not going to disclose how we're getting the documents. I mean, we've only scratched the surface.
Avenatti claims Cohen was trying to sell access to the president, consulting businesses outside of his area of expertise. AT&T says they paid Cohen $600,000. Columbus Nova, a firm with deep ties to a company owned by a Russian oligarch who is a Putin ally, paid him $500,000. And Swiss pharmaceutical giant Novartis says they paid Cohen $1.2 million. Both Novartis and AT&T calling their deals with Cohen a mistake and say they've responded to inquiries from the special counsel's team late last year. And now the Washington Post reporting the FBI is looking at yet another company that did business with Michael Cohen, Korean Aerospace Industries. We checked with the special counsel in the Southern District of New York to see if they're the ones who pulled those SARs off the system, but they are not commenting. The deputy of the Treasury Department, we should say, is also looking into who exactly leaked those banking records, George.
Okay, Tom, stand by because we're joined by Ronan Farrow, who wrote that New York article. Welcome back.
Good to be here,
Ronan, let's try and clear some things up or clarify some things to begin with. We know the documents are missing. We don't know if that was taken by someone trying to protect Michael Cohen. We don't know if it was taken by the prosecutors looking into Michael Cohen or something else.
A lot of possible explanations, not all of them involving foul play. We're very careful to point that out. But what expert after expert said, George, is this is extremely rare. And regardless of whether there's any kind of malicious political interference or not, it suggests that there is something very sensitive in these remaining documents that are no longer accessible in the search results.
And the person who's come forward to you putting himself or herself in real legal jeopardy.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an act that carries potentially 5 years in prison as a consequence. And this individual, a law enforcement official who had worked on these issues for many years, just found it so alarming that these were gone and was so alarmed by the contents of the one suspicious activity report we do have that this person felt this is worth the risk.
So what did the person say to you?
said over and over, I am troubled by the breaking of rules in this country right now. And what we see in this one suspicious activity report is such a clear-cut example of corruption in this person's view that the indication that there's triple the amount of transactions still out in the wild, and we don't have the records for them, and law enforcement doesn't have the records for them, was troubling to this person.
But presumably law enforcement could have the underlying banking records, not the SAR report.
Well, so at least a certain rung of law enforcement at which this individual is cannot access those reports in the system.
Okay, meanwhile, Tom, we now know the president has filed this financial disclosure report claiming this liability, these payments to Michael Cohen. The big question now is how much liability does he face for not reporting this last year?
Yeah, there was so much news yesterday, and this can't get lost. The Office of Government Ethics actually alerted the Department of Justice yesterday, letting them know that this disclosure was now in the president's forms. The problem is groups have been complaining, saying they should have reported this a year ago. The president signed that document saying everything was true when clearly something was left out.
And it would be a felony if the president's failure to disclose was knowing and willful.
Could be criminal, correct.
Okay, Tom, Ronan, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.